Yogah Karmasu Kaushalam.
Namaskar and welcome to UGC Human Resource Development Center of Gujarat University. We are also MHRD, NRC also. NRC stands for National Resource Center. We have taken various initiatives for the professional development of college and university teachers, academicians, and administrators working in higher education in India. Friends, we are coming out with one more session, one more topic for the benefit of academicians and administrators working in higher education in India. Today, friends, we are going to talk about academic counseling. It is very interesting topic. I would like to introduce the resource person of today. The resource person of today is Dr. Vishal Pandya. He is a head of Department of English working at Government Arts College, Valbipur. The college is affiliated to Bhavnagar University. He has been working with us in many projects. He was working as a professor and head. His areas of interest are applied linguistics and English language teaching, higher education, modern literary theories, curriculum designing, film studies, and business communication. He has about 5 books at his credit and 15 research papers published in reputed journals. He has attended more than 9 international conferences and national and state level conferences. He talks on various topics to various levels like English language teaching, linguistics, student counseling, film studies, theories of criticism, higher education, and business communication. He is very young and dynamic professor. I would like to say that he has worked with us in ARPIT in 2018-19. He has worked with us in ARPIT in 2019-20. And he has been working as one of the regular resource person to this Human Resource Development Center of Gujarat University, Ahmedabad. Friends, on behalf of all the participants, on behalf of all the viewers, and on behalf of all of us, I invite Dr. Vishal Pandya to deliver his scholarly deliberations.
Mitra, namaskar. Today we would be discussing upon counseling as a major issue with regard to higher education. The topic that has been given to me is counseling in general, wherein we will be discussing the process, the steps, the goals, and the types. Now, in this first of its kind way of looking at online teaching learning process, this initiative by UGC HRDC is indeed commendable. What they have tried to do is they are focusing upon training teachers online through faculty induction program, which is happening for the first time, perhaps in the entire country, online. So that is the initiative that they have taken. The topic given to me is quite related to how we deal with the students in higher education because of the age transition that they are into. They are normally passing through their teenage when they are coming into higher education, especially in colleges or maybe in the higher education institutes with regard to masters. So how do we counsel them? How do we talk to them? What is the process that we have to go through when we discuss what we are going through with them? Because their baggage is full of insecurities. And when they enter a new domain in higher education, they would be vulnerable with regard to their approach, to whom they are talking to whom they are discussing with. So we have to deal with how we talk to them, share the problems that they might have, solve them perhaps, and provide them with a way. So that is pretty much my topic. I would be focusing upon, or I would be starting with what counseling is in Indian context, then moving to the process of counseling, various goals of counseling, and so on. So let us start, friends. Now, you can see it on the slide. The first slide has the image of Lord Krishna on a chariot with Arjun. So this is pretty much the entire point of counseling. If I tell you what is counseling, Indians don't need to learn how to counsel. They are pretty much with the concept of counseling. That is in the DNA, as we can say. Okay, so what does this chariot show now? You can look at the screen. The chariot is basically the entire body, that is the universe that you are in. Arjun is the individual self who is bound by a particular body. Then you move towards Krishna, who is charioting, who is actually heading. He is actually the counselor. Okay, so when he's counseling, what does he do? He's controlling your senses. Five horses are the senses that you have. Okay, the senses that you might be focusing upon. That is how you look at things. So Krishna is controlling your senses. Okay, so you are Krishna for your students. What will you do for them? What will you do for your learners? You would be perhaps controlling the various senses, the five senses that they have, mold them, guide them accordingly. Because Arjuna was trying to focus upon what is the difference between mine and thine, that is swa and para. Okay, so he was not able to actually analyze what is right and what is wrong. That is where you come in. You don't counsel students if they don't ask you to. Counseling cannot be necessarily or should not be necessarily through the verbal process. It can also be non-verbal. When you look at them, you analyze their personality, you talk to them, and then perhaps try to analyze what they are going through. So that is pretty much how we would be moving forward with regard to the process of counseling. Then when you move towards the next slide, you see here that there is this process of counseling. The whole concept is into a diagrammatic frame. Okay, there are various points now. Okay, when you look at the first point, you see there is growth. So growth of an individual in the counseling process. Then you move towards the second point, that the second point would be nurturing them. Okay, so nurturing their senses, nurturing them as individuals who are new to this world, who are unaware of the nuances of the world that they are going into. Then you move towards inspiring them. That is the third process. How you inspire towards making them a better individual, guiding them for various ethics that they have to go through in their entire life. Then you move towards liveliness. Okay, their personality should be very lively. Okay, they are bogged down because they are into this whole new horizon of things wherein there are people who are intimidating, people who would not be allowing them to grow. There will be multiple ego problems that they might be going through. So you have to force them, perhaps sometimes positively, to be lively as they are. Then empathizing with their personality. What are they going through emotionally? That is to be discussed very progressively. Then when you move towards compassion, okay, compassionate behavior of a teacher is of utmost importance. You should make them feel at home. You should make them feel comfortable. They should not be afraid when they come to you for any kind of guidance or advice. Being optimistic is another important thing. Now you also have to be optimistic, and they also have to be optimistic when they are coming to you with regard to talking upon anything. Understanding their mindset. Okay, what is the fact that they are actually thinking upon? What are they trying to judge? Because at that age, you are basically very judgmental. You are into good and bad, basically. So there is no gray area. So you'll have to tell them, okay, that you'll have to focus upon how to move towards in life by balancing everything. Then nourishing their personality, making them confident is very important. And finally, supporting them in whatever they are doing. See, they might be doing something with a lot of confidence also. But sometimes what happens is if two people come to them and talk to them negatively, they would be bogged down. And that is when you provide them with a lot of confidence and nurture them accordingly. So this is pretty much the concept of counseling in higher education. This is how we move forward in higher education. Then we move towards certain definitions of counseling, because many psychiatrists, many people into psychology have discussed the definitions of psychology, especially with regard to counseling. So we should move towards the definitions given by various people. Okay, so when you first examine things, we first are focusing upon what Rogers said with regard to counseling. Okay, so the process by which The structure of the self is relaxed in the safety of the clients. Clients here are higher education learners. Relationship with the therapist, that is you as a counselor are the therapist, and previously desired experiences are perceived and then integrated into an altered self. So, what are you doing here? You are altering their personality. You are making them comfortable in the new paradigm that they are into. Moving forward, we shall discuss the definitions of Ham and McKean. They have said that counseling is a one-to-one relationship between an individual troubled by problems which he cannot cope alone. Okay, so when there is a problem with regard to coping, they are not able to tell things. That is when you start discussing the problems with them. You have to be their friend. Okay, your personality should be such of a friend, because the generation has now changed. You are no longer a father figure to your students. You are more of a friend to your student because of the age gap that has decreased now. Okay, then what does Smith have to say? Smith says that counseling is a process in which the counselor assists the counseling to make interpretations. So there, your ego as a teacher has to be put in a drawer. They might be aggressive towards you at times. You have to assist them. So assisting is not usually what we do. We try to overpower everybody as teachers. So we'll have to assist them and make them comfortable when they discuss things. Moving forward, there are certain other definitions. One of the best and the simplest is by Steffel. What is said here is counseling is a learning teaching process. That is it. You come to a student comes to you. It can be any situation. You just talk naturally to that person. Sometimes just talking is also counseling. You don't need to discuss problems as such. Just talking to them, just making them comfortable is as good as counseling their senses. Then Gustad, in their 1953, says that counseling is a learning oriented process carried in a simple one to one social environment in which the counselor, that is you as a teacher, professionally competent in relevant psychological skills. Please remember that you as a teacher are actually a psychiatrist. Okay, you are the best psychiatrist to be found in the entire perhaps place where you are. You should be very good at psychology. That is what this person says, that you have to integrate the skill of becoming a psychologist or a psychiatrist and make them comfortable. So, in short, what is counseling? Counseling is basically helping, okay, helping them to come to terms with themselves, their own self. They have to be a fully functional person when they exit meeting you, and they should be very comfortable at what they are doing or what they are about to do just by talking to you. That is how we deal with counseling. So we had a look at definitions, various definitions with regard to counseling given by eminent people. Now we move towards what is the need of counseling. Okay. So why do we need to talk to people? Okay. Why do we need people basically? Okay. So that is very human tendency to talk to people, because we are humans. We are bound to sharing things with others, and especially at the age at which the youngsters are in the teenage, around the exit teenage time, around 18, 19, 20 years of age. That is when they are going through a lot of emotional and psychological problems. So what do you do there? You learn to listen to them, because as teachers we are not good at listening sometimes. So you have to accept what they say, deal with their problems sometimes, make those problems your own. Okay, think by being in their box. What are they exactly feeling? Why are they talking what they are talking? Okay, then you have to, through that process of talking with them, modify their attitude, their belief system, their entire personality, by not judging them but guiding them. Then moving towards the next step is how a counselor, that is you, accept the learner unconditionally. That is the most important thing. You'll have to be impartial, because certain person or a certain individual is dealing with things or problems that are actually pestering your mind, that does not mean that you don't listen to them. You have to listen to them very carefully, make them feel at home, because then and then they would be opening up to you. Then, when you talk about counseling further, what do you guide them to? You guide them to self understanding. You don't have to be there throughout their life. Okay, you are only there as an ignition to them. You allow them to understand themselves, like Socrates did, a Socratic method of dealing with people's mind. Okay, self motivate is what they should be doing themselves, but how they do the process they don't know, because they are young. They are not as mature or as mentally capable as you are sometimes. And that is why at your age you start thinking that what foolish are they talking about, or why are they being pestered by such nonsensical issues. But as I told you, you have to think by becoming them. What were you doing at their age? You were perhaps passing through the same problems, and you were also guided by some individual. That is why you are here. So you were once in that page or on that particular juncture of life. That is where they are. So you'll have to focus upon allowing them to progress, grow by comforting them. Moving forward, now we'll be discussing goals of counseling. There are various goals, okay, and there are basically two subparts to goals. One is the immediate goal that you have to achieve, and another is the long term goal. Okay, so when we move towards how we discuss goals with them, you have to focus on three issues there. First is behavior of that particular individual, motivation factor for them, and their feelings. Then, how you bifurcate those things into two parts. That is, what is their immediate need and what is their long term need. Both cannot be the same. Sometimes you need to address their immediate goals in priority and then move towards the long term goals. You cannot just tell them, for example, that, oh, you'll have to become a scientist in future. That person might become a scientist, but if you throw that particular responsibility on that person right from the word go, it would be difficult. You'll have to lead him towards becoming, or lead her towards becoming a scientist. How do you do that? You first of all tell her or him the importance of experiments in life. Then you move towards allowing them to progress towards becoming a scientist. Now you can see on your screen here, there is this chart wherein you have two parts, two goals of counseling. On the left side, you have goals of long-term goals, and on the right, you have immediate goals of counseling. Now see on your screen here, there are three long-term goals that you are focusing upon, or you should focus upon. The first is to help the counselee become self-actualizing. Now, what is this self-actualizing? That means knowing yourself, allowing them to SWOT analyze themselves. You don't have to do it necessarily. You will allow them to progress in such a way that they know their strengths and weaknesses. You know that is fine, but don't force your point of view with regard to strengths that you think he or she has. Then counseling them towards self-realization. Okay, what is self-realization? Knowing your worth, being confident, okay, being in your comfort zone, and yet proving what you want to by settling on a particular point that you wish to make to others. And the last thing is how you become a fully functioning person. Now, what is a fully functioning person? A person who is aware of the weaknesses and who is confident of the strengths. Okay, by becoming aware of the weaknesses, that means you'll be improving upon them. Awareness does not mean you will be sitting with your weaknesses. You will have to improve towards it. But knowing your weaknesses is the first thing towards becoming a fully functional person. Moving towards the immediate goals now, those were the long term goals. Basically, you will have to be fulfilling, okay, you will be self fulfilled with things that you do. But then what are the immediate goals? The first immediate goal is to refer to the problems for which the learner is seeking solutions here and now. There are many immediate problems. Okay, if a person comes to you and tells you that, sir or madam, I am not able to understand anything with regard to that particular subject, You should not tell that person, oh, you'll never become a person who would be teaching this subject. You'll have to tell them, okay, what is your immediate problem? What is the focus area? What do you not understand? For example, I'm a teacher of language. Now, when a student comes to me and tells me that, sir, I'm not able to understand anything with regard to English language, then as a teacher, more importantly, as a counselor, I should ask, what in language? Okay. I should not tell the person, oh, you are nonsense. You'll never be able to become a teacher of English. I should rather inform him or her or pinpoint that, okay, the entire language concept is okay, but your problem is the syntactic area of language. That is the immediate problem that you need to address. Then, how learner fails to utilize his or her capacities fully and efficiently, and therefore is unable to function appropriately. Now, you as an individual in your teenage don't actually know your capacity of what you're capable of, because of the education system that we have right now. What is the problem is that, for example, you have studied 11th 12th commerce, okay, but you are interested in philosophy. A student who is interested in philosophy is studying commerce. Now, does that person know that he or she is good at philosophizing things, or is good at economics, or might be good at physics? Because that person is in the pipeline of doing commerce there, that person is not able to fully function. And that is why this new education policy that you have right now is very important, because it allows you to embrace various subjects from sciences, from commerce, from arts. And for example, if you want to study physics and economics and accounts, you can now, okay, which was earlier not possible. So that is a welcome step. Then moving towards the third point, that is the counselee could be helped to gain fuller understanding, that is self understanding, through self exploration, and to appreciate his or her strengths and weaknesses. This is very important. I might have multiple strengths, I might have many weaknesses. So, what do I do then? I should focus on what my strengths are, and then later on, perhaps work upon weaknesses. That should be the case with students also. They are not pitch perfect with what they do. You should be focusing on, okay, what they are good at, and then move towards their weaknesses and try to overcome their weaknesses in a very progressive way. And then the last point in immediate goals is the counselor should provide necessary information, but that information, however exhaustive, may not be useful to the learner unless he has an integrative understanding of himself or herself. This is the point which we will be focusing upon later also. What is integrative approach towards counseling? How do you become a holistic, analytic person? That is what we are moving towards when we are discussing counseling. Then, when we discuss further the goals of counseling, there is one person named Pavlov. Pavlov has very clearly demarcated between immediate goals and ultimate goals. That is what we discussed in the previous slide. Okay, so according to him, what does he say? He says that immediate goals refer to the steps and stages in counseling process which lead to ultimate goals. So those are your stepping stones towards ultimate goals. As I said, what are you interested in? For example, you're interested in painting. Then what should be your first step? To go to a place wherein there is a good institute of painting. You enroll yourself there, you learn from there, and then move towards becoming a painter. You cannot be sitting in a commerce college and trying to become a painter, because that would not be successful as such. You might be a painter, but then you would become a working painter. So you'll have to find out where the best institute with regard to painting is, or maybe creative writing, or whatever you are interested in. You should go to the best place. So I, as a teacher, should lead that person to the best possible place. I will not be sitting with him or her at that place, but I would be leading him or her to that particular place. Okay. Then self-actualization is very important. As I told you in the previous slide also, you should know yourself, and it should not be static. Okay. What my goal is right now should not be a static goal. It progresses further into allowing yourself to merge into this world and becoming a better person with regard to the understanding of that particular subject that you are interested in. And according to Goldstein in the 1939, what does he say? He says that this is very important. He says that organism is governed by, organism is we as individuals, is governed by a tendency to actualize as much as possible its individual capacities, its nature in the world. You analyze and you reanalyze things. Okay, what I thought would be very difficult 5 years back would be very easy for me right now, and the same process would go on. So how would I move on? My goals would progress in the front. Every 5 years I'll have to reanalyze my goals towards what I want to achieve. The larger goal remains the same, but how to reach that ultimate goal is constantly dynamic. Okay, so friends, we discussed how we bifurcate between long-term goals and immediate goals. Now, long-term goals are macro goals. Okay, you will have to reach there after a certain period of time, but you reach there through micro goals. Those are your short-term or immediate goals. Now, what do immediate goals do here? You can see on your screen, the immediate goals are, according to the behaviorists, very important when you'll have to deal with being in an anxious situation. So, as a counselor, you should reduce their anxiety, their feeling of hostility, their undesirable habits. That means they know that they are doing something which is not good, but they are not able to get away with those things. So, you'll have to help them out. And on the negative side of it, you increase the pleasure that they go through while going through that process, acquisition of adaptive habits, understanding of self on the positive sides is very important. So what you do through immediate goals is, negatively there are certain issues and positively there are certain issues as well. So immediate goals are very important. You cannot let go of immediate goals. Your aim should be ultra micro goals. That is the ultimate version of what you're trying to do as an individual, but you move step by step through your immediate goals. You can see on your screen, these are certain points with regard to immediate goals. So what are they? See, the immediate goal of counseling is to motivate a potential counselee. What do you need to do there? You just motivate that person. You don't ride a bicycle for anybody. You allow that person to ride a bicycle himself or herself. I can only teach that person how to ride. I cannot sit on the particular place and start riding the bicycle for that particular person. That is not possible. I motivate that person to do that. That kind of motivation is very important, as your parents motivated you when you're not able to walk. The same manner should be used with your potential learners that you have. It is through the realization of immediate goals that you reach the ultimate goals. That is what is self-understanding, self-realization, and self-actualization that we have already discussed. And it leads to, this is the very important phrase here, self-exploration. You need to explore yourself. You need to explore yourself by knowing yourself. And sometimes a person has to hold a mirror to you. You might not be able to look at how you are behaving, what you are doing. There has to be some kind of motivation. So you as a teacher are just holding a mirror to your student that this is what you are capable of and this is what you can achieve. Okay. Now we move towards the counseling process. Okay. So what is it? How do you approach counseling? Is the process of counseling. As you can see on your screen, there are 3 points here. The first one is, an important outcome of counseling is that the learners feel less anxious about the possibility of achieving his or her goals. Don't overburden them with result-oriented concentration process. Okay, allow them to focus upon the process itself. So burdening them would create a lot of panic in them. That is not required. Second point, according to Rogers, is that counseling produces a change in personality, organization, and behavior, which are relatively permanent. If you meet a teacher, so here, as your fellow teachers, I would be telling you that you should be dealing with your students in this way, wherein there is a permanent change that is happening in their personality. It is immediate, yet permanent. Okay, so you mold them. Okay, and molding is a very important process that you have to go through. You have to be very, very patient as a teacher there. Sometimes we lose patience with our students. At that time, we should remember that we were also at the same stage, at the same age sometimes. So we should not forget that they are very vulnerable. They are going through a lot of problems, especially the teenagers of this time are going through a lot of psychological problems, ego problems, sometimes gender problems, social problems. So these are to be dealt with very, very carefully. And the third point here is desirable change may be understood as the bringing about of more positive responses. What you want cannot be immediate, cannot be exact also. It might take time, it might take years together. But when you look at them after 10 or 12 years, when you're not in their life, you would know that they have progressed in the right direction. So that is how you process your counseling when you're dealing with your learners or with your students. Okay. Now on your screen are certain goals of counseling. Okay, which should be followed by the counselor. Which is the first one here? That is achievement of positive mental health. This is the first thing that you need to do. Make them positive. It is as simple as that. Rub the entire negativity through an eraser from the sheet of their mind. Allow them to be very positive of who they are. Okay, being confident. Second is resolution of problems. You should give them solutions. You just don't have to talk. They are to you for solutions. Otherwise, they can talk to anybody. Why are they to you? Because they know that you are the person who will be providing them with good solutions. So give them solutions. Then improve personal effectiveness when they move out after talking to you. Okay, or when they go out to people, when they talk to people, they should be personally very different from what they were prior to meeting you. Then counseling them to change. You just have to help them to change because they know they are in a problem. You don't have to repeat that, okay, you are doing this and this is bad, this is bad. That is not needed to them. They know that they are in a problem. You need to help them come out of that problem. Then this is the most important point. The next one on your screen is decision making. You are not in the right frame of mind to decide what is right and what is wrong. It is not their problem. It is the problem of their age. Okay, their age is the problem. So they are very indecisive. They are very vulnerable with regard to what is right, what is wrong. At that point, you will have to be extra careful by not telling them, okay, what I am saying is the only right thing. At that time, you should need to be very aware of how they look at you and tell them, this is what I believe happens. Okay, I might be wrong also, but to me, this is the best possible solution to your problem right now. Then modifying their behavior. Now you'll have a variety of heterogeneous students around you. Some might be very egoistic, some might be very docile, some might be very vulnerable, some might be underconfident, some might be overconfident as well. So that is the heterogeneity that you get. What do you do then? That is when individual counseling comes. If you have to scold them, never scold them in public. If you'll have to appreciate them, always appreciate them in public. That is how you deal with students. Okay,